Good evening, everyone. Most of you know me, but for the newest members of our SCS instructor team, thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Chrissy Collins. I will be your MC for the evening. I'm the Assistant Dean, Academic Programs, and inspired by the example of our Dean, I am the fearless leader. I did not write this. I do have fears, but let's just say I'm sometimes fearless. The fearless leader of our team, our academic team here at SCS. We are the folks who design, create, and oversee all of our open enrollment, non-ELP courses, partnerships, and corporate initiatives at SCS. And I'm pleased to be here with you to have the coveted task of opening the event, welcoming you, and introducing you to our current Dean, Dr. Maureen McDonald. As an expression of gratitude and appreciation to those whose territory we work and live on, and as a way of honoring Indigenous people, please join me in a land acknowledgement. We wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. Thank you for taking the time to join us for our annual Aspire to Inspire event. It's our chance to share SCS happenings with you and to celebrate your contributions to the success of the school. Normally, this is where I share the degrees, credentials, and vast continuing education Maureen has. As many of you know, Maureen was all set to retire at the end of June, but it turns out the university had an alternative path in mind. And while we await the arrival of our new dean, Dr. Catherine Chandler Critchlow, Maureen has graciously agreed to hold down the fort. So I would like to take this opportunity to share the more personal, professional side of our dean, but I won't make it too personal because we're friends. Degrees. It's true that Maureen holds many, including a Doctor of Philosophy in Educational Leadership from the University of North Dakota. But what made her a great leader for the last 4.5 years was the sage experience leading Canadian continuing education at the University of Victoria and at the University of Manitoba before joining us here at U of T. Ever committed to the profession of continuing education, Maureen also served as the president of CAUSE, the Canadian Association for University Continuing Education. And just this June, Maureen was awarded an honorary membership to the Canadian Association for University Continuing Education for being a true champion of continuing education and a grand ambassador for CAUSE. Many of you know that over the past nearly 5 years, Maureen has really worked to get the school on the radar of her peers and colleagues across the University of Toronto. This attention to fusing the real world that you, our instructors, bring to the classroom with the university's leading edge research has become a differentiating factor in the programs and courses we deliver. There isn't sufficient time to discuss the relationship building that Maureen has embarked upon that has led us to new business opportunities. Instead, I will highlight one unexpected legacy she leaves behind: steering the SCS ship through the storm of a global pandemic. Despite all threats to the business and unknowns that came with them, Maureen ensured that the team focused, recalibrated resources and efforts as needed, and encouraged us to follow our gut instincts. As a result, and despite the odds, we had a great year of enrollments, and financially we're in a great position. It seems appropriate to me that what many of us will remember about Maureen, in addition to her exceptional smarts, dancing skills, and work ethic, is her kindness. Please join me in welcoming our dean to the mic, Dr. Maureen McDonald.
As always, Chrissy, thank you for the very warm and generous introduction. And while I'm grateful for the kind words, we all know that any of our accomplishments and successes do not happen in a vacuum, particularly in the last 1.5 years. SCS is so blessed to have an incredibly talented team that works tirelessly to ensure our learners are well served, you, our instructors, are well supported, our partners on and off campus have what they need, and our staff have the tools to continue the great work that they do. All of this happens under the direction of our leadership team. These folks are great talents. They work incredibly hard, and each day they demonstrate an unwavering commitment to SCS, our mission, our learners, our instructors, and all of our stakeholders. Some you have met. Some are less visible, but collectively they have done a masterful job. not just in navigating the challenges of the past year, and there have been many, but for charting a path forward for years to come. These folks include Chrissy Collins, Assistant Dean Academic Programs, Lisa Morgan, Director of the English Language Program and International Initiatives, Amy Byer, Director of Strategic Communications and Marketing, and Cameron Claremont, Chief Administrative Officer. I'm extremely grateful for their leadership and commitment to SCS, for without their work and the work of their teams, we would be in an entirely different place. And while these folks are admirable leaders, they can't do their work without the amazing skills of our entire SCS team, who each and every day bring their best selves to their work in the service of our learners and our network. Their daily efforts, commitment, resilience, innovation, and good humor have positioned us so well. So moving forward, last year, I shared my thoughts on 2020. I reflected that it felt weird. It was our first big virtual event to kick off the year and recognize our award-winning colleagues, and yet we were without the buzzing excitement and laughs from all of you. This year, I can say it's still sort of weird because I'm literally not supposed to be here, either at SCS or here in Toronto. Over the summer, I moved back to Victoria, BC, but there's literally nothing I would rather fly back to Toronto for than to be here with all of you one last time. And while we may be virtual again this year, it feels incredibly different and exponentially more comfortable. You may recognize this space. This is the atrium of our main SCS administrative building at 158 St. George. It feels much more cozy than the Royal Conservatory of Music, and I do hope the familiarity of the space helps make the evening feel more personal. As we move through 2021, and while it has passed quickly, I am sorry that once again, we still find ourselves unable to connect in person. I do hope that you had a chance to connect earlier this evening with your colleagues and friends in some of the small breakout sessions. As Chrissy shared, regardless of how 2020 and the early months of 2021 were impacted by COVID, the school had a healthy year from a financial point of view. As you may appreciate, our English language program has been most heavily impacted by the pandemic. But true to the core value of SCS, ELP has shown flexibility and the ability to respond. We have seen in many areas of the school that the pandemic sort of forced our hand to be more digital and offer programming online. I'm proud to say that all lines of business have found a way to be resilient and continue to do so. Appropriately, the theme of this year's event is Journey Forward. Things are not back to normal, but I think we are coming to terms with the reality that whatever normal becomes, it will be something new. If you have heard our newest radio advertisements or have been served up our digital display ads, you will know that our message to our existing and prospective learners alike is Journey Forward. Tonight, we want to inspire you to do the same. On behalf of all the teams at SCS that support your work, I want to share some numbers with you. These numbers share a story of bravery, a willingness to try something new, a determination to help others, and perhaps even grace under pressure. Prior to COVID-19, 29% of our courses were available online. Over the past year, we migrated an additional 41% of our courses for a total of 71% of our courses now available in an online or remote delivery format. This amounts to 609 courses now available in an online or remote delivery format. We offered over 1,500 course sections over the academic year. We supported 150 instructors to move from in-class to online delivery. We welcomed 30,133 enrollments in our open enrollment programs and boot camps this academic year, an increase of 6% over the previous academic year. This represents nearly an additional 1,750 enrollments. Our learning innovation team delivered 119 training sessions during the 2021 academic year, which generated 861 enrollments. In addition to being incredibly impressive, I hope these numbers give at least a partial demonstration of what we did together to enable us to continue pushing through the pandemic. SCS is a true success story, one that is only strong because of the sum of all the parts. I know that as I reflect on my career, and especially my time at the University of Toronto, I will forever be proud of the humility and courage of our teams that our team showed throughout the pandemic. I'm also so grateful to all of you and your ability to try and learn new things while continuing to be our most visible ambassadors. While hindsight does have the benefit of 2020 vision, what I'm most struck by in all of this is how we've been accomplishing what we ask our learners: to have the courage to push outside your comfort zone, to be willing to try in something new, to invest in yourself, and to subscribe to the idea that learning journeys are much akin to an infinity loop. I've talked before about how continuing education is no stranger to recessions, extreme public health situations, or diplomatic tensions. All of these external forces can impact our business. The impacts of the pandemic continue, and we may see the ripples of its impact for many years to come. One of the very rare constants over this past year is that our current and prospective learners continue to show a healthy appetite to learn and to better themselves. Our phones, social media feeds, and email inboxes tell the story that there's still a very strong demand for our programming and services. To support those that may have the surprise pockets of time for continuing education, but not necessarily the funds, we extended our Knowledge Hub and Knowledge Hub on Demand offerings, and we will be launching a third series of live webinars later this fall. This initiative was a direct response to our learners and their needs, but they support and enhance the visibility of the incredible teaching and learning that you lead. I know that Chrissy and her team of program directors have made every effort to show our gratitude for how you have all adjusted during the transition to get courses, learning engagement, final assessments, and exams online. I really don't think this can be said enough times. We are so grateful. I am so grateful that because of you, we continue to be able to turn on a dime, but we also are at a place now where we're also offering more solutions for our learners. This includes a variety of just-in-time learning opportunities, like microcourses, and providing learners with a way to showcase their professional development achievements by displaying micro-credentials on their LinkedIn accounts and other platforms. We have solidified partnerships with organizations like Windmill Microlending and Scale AI to provide financial aid. Most recently, our microcourses and select certificate programs were recognized as being eligible for OSAP funding. One of the many things we've learned to embrace is that the days of trying to plan 12 months at a time are gone. For those of us that are planners, this required a big change, but we've become stronger and better at it. This doesn't mean it wasn't without its challenges. We continue to have questions such as, what might the winter term look like? Will we see greater return to face-to-face learning? Will the winter term like this one, and again, be almost fully online? We also know that live events can have such a positive impact on the educational experience. And we're also watching market trends with a close eye, not the least of which is whether the trend of the Great Resign continues. Over the past year, I think we've all become a little more comfortable with pushing forward, even when we don't have the answers to all the questions coming our way. We've been able to return more of our attention to providing supports and services squarely focused on our learners and our instructors. Here are two examples. Career services. As part of our 2019 to 2024 strategic plan for the school, we identified that there was a potential need to provide our learners with a career advising service. We have a new team member working on building out what this sort of service might look like at SCS. It's been important for us to collect learner input, especially as we are still in the pandemic. We issued a survey to our learners and received over 4,700 responses. As you may imagine, it will take us some time to analyze the feedback and use it to form some directions. But this is an exciting milestone achievement for SCS, and we look forward to sharing more over the coming months. The next area is instructor support. Within the last few weeks, we have launched 2 additional communications and marketing supports with our instructors at the core, a new online blog, and an instructor toolkit. Our blog, appropriately called Curious You, is a revamped section of our website. It will allow us to share content that resonates with all our stakeholders, while at the same time celebrates the potential reach and impact of continuing education. Indirectly, we hope that all content will support enrollments, but we are rather keen on having thought leadership pieces and pieces that will spark dialogue with our stakeholders. Expect us to be turning to you to support us in this endeavor. For those of you with some comfort with social media, we've developed a toolkit along with digital assets to help you leverage your networks to share news about your courses. We hope this will be an additional benefit and support for some of you in the valuable work that you do. It's a wonderful feeling knowing that when I fully retire at the end of October, I'm leaving you all in the hands of one of the best, and personally, I think the best team in continuing education across Canada. I have every confidence that with the support of the SCS administrative and academic teams, you will continue to rise to the occasion and help countless learners through your teaching. I wish you all the very best in this academic year and well beyond. I'll still be keeping an eye on your achievements and successes from afar, and I can't wait to see the levels to which your journey forward will take you.
Thank you so much, Maureen. We promise next year when you come back, we won't make you speak. Although it was lovely, of course. Always great to hear from you. All right, so there have been a few references this evening to the profession of continuing education, and each of you may have your own vision of exactly what that means. This venue provides the perfect place to start and continue a dialogue, a real dialogue about what continuing education is. So let's continue that, because finally, continuing education is experiencing a moment. We're getting a lot of attention, and many are looking to us for solutions, and we love it. Factions within the university and beyond don't fully understand what continuing education is, nor do they understand its potential to support and lengthen the academics of traditional degrees and diplomas. But this is starting to change. Just recently, we were approached by our colleagues at the Faculty of Applied Science and Engineering to collaborate on training for a big name in the automotive industry. And our micro-credentials are starting to pick up steam with new partners wanting to ladder credentials and integrate continuing studies into their offering for employees. All of this, plus new programs with Microsoft and CircuitStream, have been keeping us very, very busy over the summer months, and we can't wait to share more. Internally, we're trying to shift the dialogue from the university telling learners what they need to them providing, to partnering with them and providing learning solutions when they want them and how they want them. That may be an intensive accelerated program, a short day-long workshop, or a micro course with a micro-credential. Adult learners can be in the driver's seat, haha, automotive industry, got that? Good connection there. And we can be their responsive co-pilot, working together to support them to the finish line. Continuing education is an exciting profession, and a profession that finds itself in positions where it's poised perhaps more than ever to help solve the real skills gaps that exist within Canada, as well as those that are on the horizon with changes with things like AI and automation, or what those changes are going to bring to various workforces. Who wants to join with me in this dialogue where we can push limits and raise awareness about the inclusive, accessible nature of continuing education? Let's keep it going after this evening. Last year, when we invited your fellow instructor, Andrea Thompson, to do a poetry reading, so many of you took the time to tell us how much you enjoyed it. And for those of us who were there in person, it was a very moving experience. We heard you and we're so pleased that one of our former U of T graduates and one of our former CE students, Liz Howard, accepted our invitation to do a reading for us tonight. Liz Howard's debut collection, Infinite Citizen of the Shaking Tent, won the 2016 Griffin Poetry Prize. That is a very big deal, and was shortlisted for the 2015 Governor General's Award for Poetry. Her second collection, Letters in a Bruised Cosmos, was published by McClelland & Stewart in June 2021. Liz received an Honours Bachelor of Science with high distinction from the University of Toronto and an MFA in Creative Writing from the University of Guelph. She is of mixed settler and Anishinaabe heritage. Born and raised on Treaty 9 territory in Northern Ontario, she currently lives in Toronto. I'm thrilled to invite Liz to the stage to read a poem sequence called as if our future passed for a bad algorithm. Liz.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Chrissy. And so I'm very honored to be able to read for you all this evening as a former graduate of the University of Toronto and continuing studies student. I was saying earlier how really my professional writing career, in a sense, began here at the School of Continuing Studies in a poetry course I took with the incredible Margaret Christakis about 11 or 12 years ago. And I'm going to be teaching that very same course online this fall. So that's very, very exciting. So this is as if our future passed for a bad algorithm. A few particles ambushed the past. I opened my mouth to laugh, and laughter fell from the television. I said to myself, it's almost better than real sugar. This happened yesterday as I traded my own scalp for grain. Gold loaded our skulls onto the backs of the born, and no credit was given where no credit was due. Expectation having grown so heavy in its basement. In between accident and arrival, we are suspended, a significant horizon of downcast fire in a public moment, my head tilted to the side like, what? The cogito is the body, is nature, is the backward glancing continuum of Western history writ in blood. It's as if these winters have nothing on a chin tilted upward. Speaking plainly, it is easier to tide the lunar part. We are bound, and the world is what I can feel up against this boundary. The sentence becomes my future mail, my student debt. These heads of 9 crows, I retreat into storage. Scrolling through the temple of your name, I become locked into the commute of this falling night, still dressed for the office, with my thighs awake, as if any art could reify what time has taken away. The fact so brief, I could not see the temporal bind in front of my face. History could be my mother smoking in her truck out a cracked window, the bluish grays eddying toward escape as all known stars accelerate, a bloodstream of dark matter and the truth I'll never contain. In another history, a grandmother sleeps on a bed of hay while the night sky screams a green light of solar rays. Across the province, a grandmother picks burrs from her worn skirt in a shack at the edge of the reserve. A moose has been shot, but where does she go for her water? Here I am filming my mother this past summer, demonstrating for a young cousin how to witch for a well. Hold a saw by its edge with both hands and bring the handle up to your chest. Let it fall and count the bounces. That's how many feet down the water is. The future history of mind takes everything to forgive the impulse to rue the day I met you at the university. I cannot make peace with that with which will not leave me to test the surface tension of deeper blues. If I hollow the morrow, could you love me as the poppet of your lost youth? I can make an occasion of the hour known as 3 a.m. for us to seep so readily into confusion. A young man pisses on the sidewalk in front of us unknowingly, pushing a gasp up from his throat before he cuts and runs down the residential street. Could it be that I've lived too long with an idle mouth and my boots untied? The bones of some medieval boy discovered in the dying lips of an uprooted tree in the news today. Call me a taxi when the dawn is incendiary. The green of this could never know me, not entirely. Dream apartments we could live in but never rent. The sun hunts me and everything I hold against my sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Liz. That was amazing. I think speaking for all of us in the School of Continuing Studies, we are glad to have had at least a little sliver of getting you started on this. And I think the learners that are going to be in your classroom later this term are in for a real treat. So thank you for sharing with us this evening. As you may recall, in recent years, we've celebrated the recipients of our Excellence in Teaching Awards at SCS Celebrates. In lieu of being able to do that, we are pleased to be able to share a video of this year's recipients. What makes these awards so meaningful is that at their core, they were driven by our learners who have made the commitment to invest in themselves through continuing education. We've selected excerpts from the award nominations to share. And while the words are those of our learners, we're excited that they're being read by members of our amazing team of SCS administrators, the very people who work hard behind the scene to support the learning you facilitate in your teaching spaces. Let's hear a little bit about each of this year's award winners.
Jonathan is an excellent teacher. He knows how to lead a conversation. He is solicitous of opinions, and he finds something from which to encourage, and that always leads to further discussion. He has interesting things to say about the text, and it is a pleasure to be in the room with him. He is good with everyone. He was a very well-informed instructor and opened up doors for me to the work of Virginia Woolf, who is a very difficult author to understand. Jonathan is a superb teacher and knows how to create a positive environment for the critical discussion of literature. I learned so much. Thank you, Jonathan.
Allison not only taught us, she inspired us, beyond the classroom, to take a deep dive into digital communications and how to think about our lessons in the everyday. She was always willing to help outside the classroom, to challenge our school of thought, and she led with grace and zest online. I've highly recommended her classes to my peers. She's a great asset to your program. Allison is an amazing instructor who goes above and beyond just teaching her students. She was always extremely supportive to everyone and always able to provide advice when needed. I love that she was able to inspire me, as well as other classmates, to be our authentic selves and to utilize what we've learned to make a difference. Out of all of the classes I've signed up for, I've never met a kind soul like her, and she needs to be recognized for the difference she makes in students' lives.
The 2 courses I took under Gerald's leadership are the 2 best personal and professional development opportunities I have ever participated in. Gerald is genuinely concerned for each of his students' personal and professional development and success and ensures that every student is fully immersed in the class. Gerald goes over and above the expectations of a teacher to build a community within his classroom, ensuring that the class knows each other's names and has opportunities to connect and collaborate. Most importantly, Gerald challenges each of his students in classes to be open, vulnerable, and honest about their personal performance, development, and leadership. I look forward to my next opportunity to work with and learn from Gerald. Gerald is the most engaging and passionate teacher I have ever had. His enthusiasm and knowledge of teens and top performers is so relevant to everything I do at work. What fascinated me was the well thought out and relevant curated curriculum, from diagnostics to assignments. I will use my assignments for everything I do in my life, personally, and for career choices I make. I came out of Gerald's course with the confidence to be my authentic self. Gerald exceeded my expectations of what school was. I wish there were more courses he offered.
Fadi is an amazing instructor, very caring, gives to the maximum, and makes the course very interesting. A very knowledgeable instructor, makes sure that students understand the subject and gives real-life examples, has lots of patience and helps students as much as possible to understand the material, very easy to follow when explaining the subject, and make sure that students are involved in discussions. We recommend taking his class, lots of value, and will take another class by him without hesitation. He has the art of teaching with interest, stresses the fundamentals of the subject, and tries to apply them to practical problems in applicable context. The students feel free to interact. An expert instructor with most appropriate mode of teaching, both in class and online. He is highly responsive to the need of students.
Bianca Mary is an amazing instructor. She helped me improve my work like no other teacher has before. She is willing to help her students achieve in the field of creative writing. She is always available to meet and speak with you. She gives you the insights on the industry and sometimes refers you to other professionals who will help you with your problems or who will help you get published. There is no other teacher like Bianca Mary. I really hope she wins an award. She deserves it for all the effort she has put in teaching. Bianca is a great instructor. She is passionate about writing and wholly dedicated to ensuring that her students succeed in their writing endeavors. Speaking for myself only, of course. She is incredibly responsive, always available for any questions, and provides excellent feedback. Aside from her academic credentials, Bianca is a published author and an expert in creative writing. I found Bianca's class and teaching style inspirational and would definitely take another class with her again.
I am so impressed by Sune's teaching skills and passion. I had an opportunity to have Ms. Bach as my instructor in both in-person and online teaching environment. Ms. Bach uses the tools available online very effectively to the degree that I hardly notice any compromise between her teaching online or in person. She always puts 100% of her effort into teaching. Also, she knows how to make the lesson more interesting and easier for the students to absorb all the knowledge. Sune is so dedicated to her class, it's amazing. She provides so many tools and techniques even outside of class hours to help us accelerate our learning. She gives individual feedback to students and really showcases her interest in helping us grow through her teaching.
Matt displayed an undisputed passion, stellar excellence in designing our learning experience by providing continuous engagement between webinars by the way of quizzes, pre-recorded podcast bits, providing an intellectual digest of our topics, short meditation to kick off each session to change mindset and develop presence, practical case studies that help to prep for exams assignments, clear instructions combined with accountability, self-confidence, and serious professionalism throughout the course. This course was the best learning experience I have had. The course content was exceptional. We were provided with core content, podcasts, confidence quizzes, webinars, case studies, and applicable assessments. Matt walked us through the learning experience, challenged us, encouraged us to share our learning, and provided excellent feedback. Matt truly embodied best practices for teaching adult learners and continually adapted his approach to meet the needs of all learners. He's an exceptional instructor.
Jamie has always demonstrated genuine interest in students' careers and was not indifferent to the success of his class. He has always provided realistic insight into a field, trends, and job opportunities. He made efforts to learn about career aspirations of his class and provided advice on how to get into the industry. Jamie is always up to date on the latest industry news and is enthusiastic in sharing with his class. He has provided insight and direction long after graduation. Jamie reached out to me many times, even after the course, seeing my passion and motivation in cybersecurity, and continued to find career opportunities for me. He genuinely cares about his students. His enthusiasm and passion for cybersecurity helped foster my own, ultimately landing a job in the cybersecurity field. I could not have completed this journey without him and his continued mentorship. I cannot recommend him enough to win this award.
Matthew was an amazing instructor. The way he conceptually presented complicated concepts made it very easy to follow a complex topic like machine learning. His class was never tiring, and I enjoyed every minute of his class. After finishing the program, he also helped me a lot with a project I was working on, and he also referred me for a job opportunity related to the field. I personally hope all of the Con Ed instructors have the same level of knowledge and competency. He is very passionate about the subject and could clearly explain ideas in a clear and succinct manner. Although the content of the course is abstract, Matthew always found a way of explaining it so everyone could understand the concepts. He encouraged us to engage in the discussion, making the course more interactive and interesting.
Congratulations to our award winners, and thank you for sharing your knowledge, skills, and talents with our learners. As we teased it in the invitation for tonight, we're pleased to be able to share some remarks from your incoming dean, Dr. Catherine Chandler Critchlow.
Hello and good evening to everyone. I'm Catherine Chandler Critchlow, incoming Dean of the School of Continuing Studies. You would likely be aware that I'll be beginning this role in November. It is my pleasure to offer congratulations to each and every one of you, and more so to the instructors who are being honored this evening. There is no greater joy than engaging with learners, sharing your knowledge, and sharing your expertise. As instructors, you're at the core of the school's delivery capacity and the face of our organization to the public. So immense thanks to you all. This year has certainly tested the ability of those who are involved in the delivery of programs. Pivoting at short notice became the order of the day. I anticipate that you have many lessons learned from this experience, and I look forward to hearing from you and getting your insights and suggestions for future programming. To the awardees, congratulations. Our learners have picked you to celebrate your excellence this evening. Savor the feedback, enjoy the evening, and I look forward to working with all of you in the future. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Dr. Chandler Critchlow. If any of you are reality TV fans, and I must confess, like myself, we have a real treat for you. I'm so thrilled that U of T alumnus from the Leslie Dan Faculty of Pharmacy, Christopher Siu, is with us tonight. For those of you that aren't familiar with Christopher's connection to MasterChef Canada, some background. He applied to be in the show in 2015 during the final year of his doctorate in pharmacy program. When he was accepted, the shooting for the series coincided with his final block of experiential pharmacy rotations. So he deferred to accommodate the show. Christopher didn't win that season, but he returned to finish his PharmD and even opened his own bakery, Dango Cake Lab. When MasterChef Canada invited him to return for the show's 7th season, which would reunite competitors from previous seasons, Christopher jumped on the opportunity and took home top prize. Christopher joins us tonight to share his learning journey and what motivated him to chase his dream.
So I was inspired by my father, who actually used to make me and my brother cheesecakes from our birthdays. And it wasn't as though he was a baker himself, nor was it the most amazing recipe on earth. It was actually the back of the Philadelphia cream cheese box. But it wasn't the cheesecake that made it special. It was the fact that he went out of his way to try to create something for us that really inspired me and made me take a love for baking and cooking. But whenever it was brought up as a topic in our family table for dinner, it was never really looked favorably upon. It was always something that was sort of brushed off, that perhaps it was a occupation or career path that my parents simply didn't want me to pursue. You see, my parents were first generation immigrants. My dad used to be a police officer in Hong Kong. He was a very ambitious man. He would try very hard. He'd work very hard in order to be promoted. My mom worked various jobs, but they uprooted their life in Hong Kong and moved to Canada in order to give a better life for me and my brother. And they did everything they could to support us. They were strict on us, but fair, abundant in their critiques, but also great with their compliments. But even without them saying anything, I was very much intimidated, and probably out of respect for them, I didn't consider food as a possible career path for me. Just something I left in the back of my mind, something that perhaps I would pursue after retirement. So fast forward to high school, I'm not too sure what I want to do. I'm taking a lot of the courses that my friends are taking as well, a lot of maths and sciences, and eventually we graduate. Unfortunately, I wasn't exactly the hardworking, studious worker that a lot of people expected. My grades were not as considerable as my classmates. And so I didn't get into a lot of the programs I applied for. What I did end up was at life science at the University of Toronto, Scarborough. And from there, I continued my studies, eventually transferring to the University of Waterloo and finishing my degree. Fast forward again 4 years, and here I am graduating from the University of Waterloo. But I still don't know what I want to do. I speak to my friends and my family, and they encourage me to look into other options. For those of you from a life science background, there are really only two more options. You can pursue a more academic path and finish a master's or PhD, or you can take a career in more of a medical profession. In the end, I chose pharmacy as my career. It was something that I enjoyed. I liked the teaching aspect of it, but I also liked that it was relatively clean. It was something that I didn't have to work too deeply with patients. So I'm studying, I work extremely hard, and I get into the Zidane Faculty of Pharmacy. And the next 4 years are grueling, extremely difficult, lots of long nights, all-nighters, a lot of anxiety and stress. But eventually I finish it. And it's at this moment, I can still remember it very clearly, finishing my boarding exams. As I walk out of my boarding exams and I'm looking around, all my classmates and my friends are around me, and I can see big smiles on everyone's faces. They're all ecstatic, ready to start their new career. Some of them already interning at different industries different programs and in the industry, and ready to become a full-time pharmacist. But for me, I didn't quite feel that way. In fact, I even felt a little confused and lost, but I wasn't sure what it was. So I put it aside and I kept on my journey, eventually working as a community pharmacist at Shoppers Drug Mart. Actually, about a year prior to this was back in 2015, I had been on MasterChef Canada the first time around on season 2. Being on MasterChef Canada was a very, very interesting experience. Certainly not what I had expected at all. For those of you who don't watch, essentially in the show, a bunch of home cooks or amateur cooks are thrown together with a series of ridiculous challenges in an effort for one of them to stand up on top and be presented the title of MasterChef Canada and a prize money for them to put towards their dream of having their own food business or food career. Of course, me coming from a very, very different background, couldn't believe this. I just thought there's no way somebody would take their prize money and then reinvest it into something in the food industry. Probably goes into a down payment or a mortgage somewhere. See, my parents had always taught me that success meant working hard, pursuing a professional degree, and eventually finding a career in it. But we never spoke much about being in the food industry as a career path. So the reality was that it was very much different from this. I met people from all walks of life, people who were passionate about so many things, not just about food, but it was really about the food that changed me. I really thought back and remembered all those oddly competitive potlucks we would have, the time we were able to raid the MasterChef pantry for our Thanksgiving dinner, staying up throughout the night to perfect the perfect poached egg, or even just cooking all day long for absolutely no reason other than the sheer joy of it. I met my good friend David on the show as well. And David showed me not just through his food, not just generosity and kindness, but also his passion through his food. I remember one time we had all been cooking the entire day. It was the elimination challenge. We were all exhausted, finally got back to the hotel. And as usual, we sit around and chat with each other. David, of course, was exempt that day because he had won the day's previous challenge. And as such, we had expected that he'd probably spent the whole day preparing for the next challenge the day after. Instead, as we're all chatting, he walks into the room, a huge lamb saddle, roasted, deboned, stuffed with mushroom stuffing, covered in gravy, and a plate of roast carrots for everyone to eat. And I couldn't understand why. Why did David take all this time to prepare this meal for us when he could have been preparing for the competition instead? See, what I learned from David was that when you're passionate about something, you don't just want to do it, you want to share it with those around you. So back to my pharmacy days. And I'm thinking about all of these past memories, this amazing time I had that broke the rules and challenged the things I knew and opened my eyes to the rest of the world. And I thought back and I set a new goal for myself. I decided I would do whatever it took to open my own bakery. And so the first thing I did was I created a small website. I started baking for my parents' bakery. I worked the hardest I ever in my life. I started working 16-hour shifts at the pharmacy from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m., 3 days a week, just so that I could maintain my full-time hours and still have time to bake for the other 3-4 days. And eventually, 2 years later, I quit my job and I opened Dango Cake Lab. See, at the time, my parents, my friends, my family, they were shocked. They didn't understand why I would do something like that. A lot of them told me that I would learn to hate it because I had turned something I liked, a hobby, into my career. Some other people scoffed and even laughed at me, and others even pitied me. But when I look back now, I think all of them, and myself included, didn't realize something, was that I was passionate about baking. See, what I had learned was that being passionate is not the same thing as liking something. You can like many things in life. You can like to play soccer. You can like to listen to music, but you will not be passionate about all of those things. For me, to be passionate means that I not only love doing it, but I want to become better at it. I want to become the best at it. And then I want to share it with all those around me. When you're passionate about something, you can work 16 hours, even 24 hours. You may not even sleep sometimes working so hard, but you will never regret a moment of it because it will still feel easier than an 8-hour shift that's something that you don't enjoy. So after all that, I realized that my passion was more important than what I had studied, and that what I really needed to do was to chase my passion and to make it into my career. But see, the weird thing is that in society, passion often seems to be something that's frowned upon. We always have those friends or people we know who geek out about something or who always talk about something, but we always find them a little odd. But in reality, these people are so passionate about what they love that they simply want to share it with the rest of the world. And they're the same people who will make a difference in our society. So today, when I walk into my bakery and I bake, I don't just love baking. If I can find a way to make a $30 cake cost $20 by finding new and innovative techniques or by finding new suppliers to reduce the cost of our materials, that's a win for me because more people can try my cake. If I'm able to make a $20 cake taste like a $30 cake, that's another win for me. And if I can create something that no one else has seen before, but can bring joy to everyone who purchases it, then that's my passion. If there's 4 things that I've learned in my journey so far, it's that the first one is always to work hard. No matter what, even if it's not your end goal, you will always be able to take away something and bring it with you to the future. The second thing is persistence. There will always be tough times, but through passion, we can persist and continue and give it our best. Third, to be humble, because one day there will always be that moment of success. And at that time, it'll be important to remember where you came from and to give back to those who are starting their own journey. And finally, don't do anything you'll regret, especially in this day and age where so many of us are separated by COVID, because everything you put out there will come back to you. So be sure to give a bit of kindness every day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christopher. If I wasn't fangirling before tonight, I sure am now. You embody so many of the attributes of recent grads, but even more so what we hear from our own learners. They're always looking for opportunities to chase their curiosities and their passions. And thank you for reminding us about what is important. And I think your lessons of working hard, persistence, being humble, and don't do anything you will regret are really lessons for all of us in all walks of life. So thank you so much for sharing your journey so far. And we look forward to watching where you will go next. So thank you so much.
All right. So now's the time for, thank you very much, Christopher. That was awesome. And Liz, it's so nice to see people in person. Just want to reach out and touch them, but I won't. Now's the time of the evening where we're going to award a couple of virtual door prizes, but they are real prizes, not virtual. So thank you to all of those who registered through the for the door prize draw through Eventbrite. Our winners for this evening are, we're not pulling them out of a hat. You see, there's no hat. So this was done beforehand.
Tell us what they've won, Chrissy.
Oh, I would love to. I would love to. The first winner of a new iPad with a 10.2-inch with Retina display with A12 Bionic chip for editing 4K video. I don't understand anything of what I just said. Playing graphics-intensive games and experiencing AR apps is, do you want to say the name?
Martha Batiz.
Yay, Martha, come on down and get your very fancy iPad. We will mail that to you. Actually, don't come down. It's not here. It's going to come to you in the mail. All right. Next, we are pleased to offer 2 SCS Family and Friends benefits, good for 1 course at the University of Toronto School of Continuing Studies, valued at $700. And the winners of our transferable Family and Friends benefit vouchers this evening are
Jean Chow and Chris Rockbank. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Jean and Chris. Excellent, excellent. So glad you're here this evening to receive your award. Enjoy it. All right, enough with the corny jokes. It's time to wrap up our evening. So our last message to you is, whether you're teaching for the first time or the 50th time this term and this year, we want to remind you that we're all here in your corner, ready to support you and cheer you on as you connect with our learners across the globe by sharing your passion, expertise, and energy about your discipline. Whether it's tax, mindfulness meditation, creative writing, electric vehicles, or project management, we know that what you bring to the classroom, virtual or in person, is what makes U of T SCS such an incredible place to learn. We wish to thank you so much for joining us this evening and for being part of our community. So raise a glass, cheers to you, our wonderful instructors. Have a fantastic academic year and have a great evening. Thanks so much.